Today we're gonna put together a piece of furniture. Now this is a young girl's vanity that we got from Overstock. Not a fan, but chances are you're gonna have to put together a piece of furniture in your life for your kids, for your house, just because you're a human. And I'm gonna give you some tips and tricks along the way. And by the way, we haven't even gotten started yet and we've already run into a problem.
So you'll notice that step number one, the pieces that I'm about to show you do not match what's in the booklet for the instructions. This is the very first problem that we have encountered. And if you follow me through the rest of this video, you will see a bunch more problems caused by this problem. So I did some thinking and looked through the booklet, and I noticed when I flipped to the back that this is what the vanity that it is teaching me how to build looks like. This is not the vanity that I purchased. So we are going to be a good Marine, adapt, improvise, and overcome, and try to figure things out here. Because essentially what ended up happening was I contacted Overstock and they didn't have the instructions. It ended up taking them 5 days for me to receive the PDF file that they emailed to the wrong person. And I spent multiple phone calls trying to get the right instructions to put this thing together because there's hundreds of pieces here. So here's tip number one. When you're putting together furniture as a parent, as not a parent, I don't care who you are, take all the pieces out. Make sure you have all the pieces and make sure the instructions match the pieces. Especially if you're not super familiar with how to put these, for lack of a better term, IKEA style pieces of furniture when you're building it yourself. Because I can't tell you the amount of times in the beginning that I would get all overzealous and just start at step number one, start building things before I took everything else out of the box. And I would find out an hour or two later that I didn't have the right piece, or I was missing a piece and I had to wait 2 weeks for them to ship it, because that's what it costs and it's kind of a little bit ridiculous. So after about 4 days of them not getting me the instructions, I just decided I'm going to try to put this thing together anyway, because I've put together a lot of pieces of furniture, so I should be able to figure it out. Well, again, it would have been super helpful to have the instructions here to figure out what direction the drawer slides go. There are a few pieces of tricky things on furniture like this, like drawer slides. Where do they go and which holes do they go into? But I figured it out, and you'll see a little bit later in the video here that I'm basically using this one sheet of paper that you see in front of you. That was correct. All it had was one instruction about the glass on it. And my iPad off to the side, which you will see here in a minute. And the iPad just has pictures from the internet, like the actual stock photos, the sales photos. So it does have some measurements on it that I'm able to try and that I'm able to use to figure out what these pieces are and which pieces go where. So once I kind of figured that out, the rest is kind of assembly and figuring out as you go. Now, I really only had 3 different styles of screws, which was really big. Sometimes you have a bunch of screws and a bunch of nuts and washers, and it would be really, really hard to try to guess what goes where. But these are all assembled by this kind of system, this interlocking screw system. So that's mostly what I'm doing here. You put the screw in one end and you put the little spinny deal in the other end and you stick it in there with a screwdriver and lock it all down. So after a couple of measurements, that's what you see me doing here, is assembling the sides. Because essentially what this vanity is it's kind of like a desk with a mirror over the top. I have a basic idea of what it's supposed to look like and a basic idea of the dimensions. You can see my iPad sitting up there over there on the right on the counter. And that is what is going to essentially give me just hope. I am going to run into a number of problems that are going to be super frustrating, because had I had the instructions, I would have built it in the correct order, but I did not. I was just kind of flying by the seat of my pants. So there are things you should do first and things that you should do second, and we'll talk about that when we get to it. But here I'm just putting together one of the sides and going kind of quick here, because once you kind of figure out the main shape of the thing, and if you have the right pieces sitting in front of you, it should go okay. Now, you might see me using both a screwdriver and an impact gun here. If you don't use your impact driver or a drill often, do not use it on pieces of furniture like this. I'm not patting myself on the back here, but I use my impact driver a lot, so I have good trigger control. And the reason that that is important is because if you're doing what I'm doing and you don't know how to use a power tool, you're going to drill right through this stuff. This furniture is all like press board, and you really get one attempt at it. You can't screw and unscrew and then screw it back into the same hole. The hole's going to get destroyed really quickly. And if you squeeze the trigger a little too hard, you're literally going to screw right through it and kind of ruin your piece of furniture. So if you're going to use power tools, be very careful. That being said, putting this entire thing together with one screwdriver would be horrible. So you're going to have to make your decision on that and how good you are with power tools and how familiar you are with them. If you have an impact driver, use a clutch. If you don't know what your clutch is, let me know in the comments and we'll make a video on how to use drills and impact drivers to make furniture like this or to assemble it. And you'll also see, I'll include links to all the things that I'm mentioning here that might give you some help in everyday life. And not just building furniture, but in building anything. So you'll see these little containers, those little round containers. I take all the individual screws, separate them, and put them into tiny little containers with the letter. They're usually assigned a letter. In this case, it didn't matter, right? Because I don't have the instructions. But leave the letter in there so you can, and they're super handy to have, these little teeny containers so your stuff's not flying all over the place. I keep these in my garage. I keep them in my kitchen. I think they're actually designed for kitchen use, but I use them for everything. There's multiple different sizes. I have square ones you'll probably see later, and little circle ones, and big circular ones. So I'll drop a link to those. I find them incredibly handy. You can even throw them away when you're done if you're mixing paint or whatever in there. But here's my mistake number one. So I figured I knew what I was doing. We're building the base here, right? And I'm going to put the top on. I have a little bit of trouble, and you're going to have trouble. This is all mass-produced furniture. You can see me working with my daughter here. It is her piece of furniture. And the little back that slides into there, it's just a teeny little piece of almost extra thick cardboard, just extra thick particle board. And it's not sliding down in the channel. It's not sliding down in the channel because the channels don't match up. That's not my fault. That's because it's mass-produced furniture, and you're going to run into those trouble from time to time. So, you know, you're going to have to be flexible. You're going to have to maybe, I had to get a chisel out and kind of chisel the small piece out so I could get it down there. So I could get everything to slide in correctly. A lot of times these things just don't line up correctly, and you're going to have to kind of figure that out, and you're going to have to do the best you can with what you have. Because again, it's mass-produced particle board. It is what it is. It's plenty sturdy for what we need it for, but it's not fine hardwood furniture. So I made the mistake of assembling it like I thought it should be. And here's me, see, look, super annoyed that I have to unassemble it. I have to unassemble it because there is another piece that goes under there for the middle drawer. I did not know that there would be a piece for the middle drawer, but there is, and that's it in my hand. So I assembled it in order to get it attached to the sides. Because of the way you attach it, you don't just screw it in there. You attach it with those little, I don't even know what they're called. They're used on this kind of furniture all the time, these locking devices. Well, I figured out that we have to put this middle thing in there to hold the two together instead of just the top. And the only way to get it in there was to disassemble it. So I had victory after disassembling it, I think 3 times. I skipped over some of those times because I figured you didn't want to watch me assemble it and disassemble it like 3 times in a row. But I finally had victory, and here I am. Right? So after the second time of assembly and disassembly, we still have more problems. I am accomplishing my goals, and we need a little bit of fuel. So Diet Mountain Dew, thank you very much for helping me out on this project. Now that the bottom is basically completely assembled, with the exception of the drawers, that's what I need to do, is figure out the drawers. So again, the biggest problem with the drawers is the drawer slides. But what you want to do is get all the pieces you think go with the drawer, or that the instructions tell you go with the drawer. And do me a favor, even if you have the instructions, check it. That's what you see me sticking those pieces of board in the openings. Check and then check again and then check a third time, because these things don't always slide together the way they're supposed to. Even when you do have the instructions, it doesn't always work the right way. And you might save yourself some hassle of building something and then having to unbuild it and rebuild it, especially once again with material like this that is really cheap material, and you really can only screw those screws into it one time. After one time, it starts getting real mushy and the screws don't hold very well. So be careful, take your time. It's going to pay off in the end. But I figured out what all the drawers are, which drawers go into which kind of section of this little vanity, which we'll see at the end. And the process really is just assembling the drawers now. That really was a pretty straightforward thing. Luckily, we don't believe in luck, but the drawer slides went on really super easy. They were only possible to go in one location, and that was the correct location. Now, once I got one of the drawers assembled here, I put it in there to test it, right? Make sure before you build the next ones that you did it correctly. Even if you have the instructions, make sure you did it correctly and it's going to slide back and forth. Because when building anything, especially something that is prefab, you may run into troubles. You may have to figure out how to adjust the little slides, and you may have to tweak it just a little bit. And that information might help you on the further drawers and how to put those together. I'm not going to show you the other two drawers, but there you go. I kind of figured it out. It kind of works. So I'm going to get started on the next couple of drawers here. And here we are, magically 1 second later. It took me a little while, but they're all finished. Now, I had a lot of trouble, you're going to see here, with this middle drawer. Once again, there's problems. Now, this isn't a problem that I think that the instructions would have solved. The problem here with this middle drawer is just that it doesn't work very well. And you're going to have those problems with these prefab pieces of like IKEA style furniture. But it doesn't slide in and out. There might be some little tweaks that I could make to the drawer slides to help it out. But a lot of times it's just due to the fact that these pieces of furniture aren't really square and level and plumb. And so they just don't slide in and out of where they're supposed to slide in and out of very well. What I'm doing is comparing the middle drawer to the side drawer and seeing, is there something I'm missing? Is there a screw sticking out a little bit? Did I use a wrong screw? And seeing if I can figure all that out. And what I figured out in the end is, nope, it wasn't my fault. It is just a bad drawer. And that's kind of what you have. That's kind of what you got to work with. So once we got all the drawers situated, it's time to build the top. This is I'm not counting here, but time number 3, where it would have been really helpful to have the instructions, because I make some mistakes here because I don't know what I'm doing, because I'm trying to figure it out without the instructions. So by looking at the picture, I figured out which pieces go onto the top and what are going to hold the mirror. You can kind of see those two boxes in the back. One of them's leaning against the table and one of them is leaning against the couch. Those are mirrors and they're pretty heavy. So this has to support these mirrors, and I don't exactly know the order to build it in. Knowing the order would have been helpful, because what I'm going to learn here in, for me, like an hour, for you, like 2 minutes, is that I should be building this entire thing on the table. Like the entire top piece should be built together instead of doing what I'm doing now, which is building each one of these pieces, because that kind of made sense to me. That's how you built the bottom part. Let's build the top pieces, slide them in there, figure it out. Again, we're having problems with the channel that you slide that backing in on, and that happens because they're basically like dados, if you're familiar with woodworking. And these tiny little dados don't always line up. It's real super frustrating, and it takes extra time, but you just kind of have to be patient. And don't force it, because when you force particle board, this cheap kind of furniture, it doesn't go well, and it ends up breaking out, and you end up doing more damage than you wanted to. So I'm going to assemble the mirror here. And by the way, if you've hung in this far and are getting value, hit that thumbs up. We're trying to grow the channel. I hope this is helpful. This is more for entertainment purposes. It was supposed to be more of an instructional video, but it's hard to make an instructional video when you don't have the instructions. What I can do is give you tips and tricks. And there we go. I'm taking a break to eat lunch. My daughter's decided to have a little dance party in the background. This happens a lot in a house full of girls. We break out in parties all the time. Back to work. So we're going to get back to work assembling the rest of this top until, that is, I find out that I did it wrong and I should be doing the entire thing on the table, because the big main piece of mirror, that's it right there, is just super heavy. Not only is it super heavy, but there's really no way to get it into the position that I need to get it into. Because of all the different screws, without building the entire top first. So we're going to have to be a little flexible. We're going to have to yet again adapt, improvise, and overcome, and disassemble everything I just assembled. Boy, would it have been nice to have the instructions, huh? And reassemble everything that I just assembled on the table. But we're getting to the end here, and this build, which I have fast forwarded into like 20 minutes for you, ended up taking me about 5 hours. That includes stopping for lunch. Now, if I had the instructions, it probably would have only taken me about 2 to 3 hours. Maybe even less than that. But I did a whole lot of assembling and then disassembling, because it, like you're seeing here, because I assembled everything and it didn't work out because I didn't have the instructions. So in order for it to work out, I had to kind of carefully disassemble it. This is the place right here where you learn lessons the hard way. Once you screw something together, it's very difficult. What you did not see, but I did, was one of the screws there that was attached to the top just pulled out because of how it's connected. I wasn't able to disconnect it, and unfortunately that hole is now no good. Now this piece is held on by what, 2, 4, 6, 8, almost 10 other screws. So that one is not a huge problem, but I wish that it would have worked out a little bit better. All right, so we have the two pieces completely assembled now, and I had to call in my reinforcements to help me move it, because it needs to be moved into my daughter's room, and the completed piece of furniture is too heavy for them to lift. So they're going to help me get the two pieces into the room so I can do the finished assembly in there. Now, I forgot to put the camera in her room when I finished putting the top onto the base piece there, but that's okay. You don't need to see that anyway. So we got the actual desk part in there. It's assembled as good as it can be. Here's the top piece. This is the heavy piece, because you'll see in here just a minute when we do the final pieces, the final photos, that it's just basically one giant mirror, and there is actually some lights in it. So it's really kind of a heavy piece of furniture. My older daughter is a little more savvy with moving furniture, so she's going to step in and help me move it so I can get this piece of furniture up and completed for you guys. So that's really it. As I move this final piece in here, I'm going to let you see the final photos of this vanity. It really wasn't that hard. If I had the instructions, it wouldn't have taken that long, and it wasn't that complicated. You can see the drawers are a little uneven, and that is just the nature of a piece of furniture like this. Hey, thank you guys for watching. I really hope that you got some value. Hit that thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, please do that already, and consider supporting the channel as we get going. I'm a dad. My name is Steve. I live a dad life, and that's what this channel is about. It's a little bit entertaining. It's a little bit tips and tricks. And these are the kind of videos that you can see in the future.